Subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos. What's up guys, my name is MRJMAN and I'm here today to explain why is the Philippine American War important in our history and this conflict. What's up guys, my name is MRJMAN and I'm here today to explain why is the Philippine American War important in our history and how this conflict shaped our Filipino culture and the legacy of the Philippines as a country. Before we start this video, I want to know you in the comments. What is your favorite cartoon character growing up? Type your answers in the comment section. Whatever. Type your answers in the comment section. Type your answers in the comment. Fuck. Just type your answers in the comment section below. Yeah. That's good. That'll be good. Not you whatever. On to the video. The Philippines have recently won their war of freedom from the Spanish. With the help of the Americans and the fall of Spanish Manila, many Filipinos dropped tears of joy. Aguinaldo declared Philippine independence on June 12, 1898 in Kawit, Cavite, and setting up the Convention of Manolos in Bulacan to establish the Constitution and inaugurate Emilio Aguinaldo as President of the new Republic. The Philippines is now free from colonial rule. Or so they thought. In the 10th of December 1898, American and Spanish diplomats signed a peace treaty in Paris to put an end of the Spanish-American War. The accordance of the treaty states Cuba's independence and the seizing of Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines to the Americans from Spain. However, in the Philippines, the Philippine rebels and the citizens were unaware about the treaty. Following the Battle of Manila, which the Americans staged a mock battle with the Spanish so they could take Manila, the Americans would not allow Aguinaldo's army to enter the capital, which many Filipino nationalists were frustrated of being rejected to enter their own city, and even circulate warnings to shoot if they come in, seeding the cracks on both sides. While this was going on, in America, however, have a different view of the Philippines. Since the Treaty of Paris was finalized on December 10th, the treaty didn't go to effect in the US. It needs to be processed for approval from the Congress. Many politicians, mostly from the debating, think whether they should occupy the Philippines. The Democrats believe that the morals of being a US citizen will devalue the purpose of the country, while the Republicans argued that the Philippines should be Christianized, educate the Filipino people, and colonize the island to protect from other Western powers. After hard-hitting debates, the Congress voted in to colonize the Philippines under the eyes of the United States. On December 21, 1898, US President William McKinley enacted the Benevolent Assumption, which officially put the island as a US colony, and appointed Major General Elwet Stephen Otis as the governor of the Philippines. On February 4, 1899, Private William W. Grayson of the 1st Nebraska Volunteer Infantry Regiment shot two unarmed Filipino soldiers in the district of Santa Mesa, sparking the Second Battle of Manila that only lasted for 2 days, killing around 55 Americans and 236 Filipinos. Following the battle, Aguinaldo ordered Filipino General Isidoro Torres to deliver a peaceful message to General Otis that the aggressive battle was accidental and wanted to end all aggression and create neutral zones between both sides. General Otis denounced the truce, responding that, I quote, "The fighting having begun must go on to the grim end. Thus, war has existed between the United States and the First Philippine Republic." February 11th, the US Navy shelled the city of Iloilo with the cannons of the USS Petrel and Baltimore, crumbling the city into rubble, eventually capturing the city by US land forces, with no American casualties. With Manila under their full control, US troops launched their assault against the Revolutionary Army, which the Filipinos escaped northwards from the American attack. Since the resistance is lacking manpower against the US and only equipped with bolo knives, arrows, and spears, Aguinaldo improvised a plan that he believes can take the colonizers out of the island. His idea that if he can inflict more American defeats, it'll persist many American citizens to unvote President McKinley's re-election for the upcoming 1900 presidential election. The assumption here is if the conservative Americans voted for anti-imperialist rival William Jennings Bryan, he might pull US soldiers from the Philippines. With the looming election being anticipated by the insurgency, Aguinaldo decides to change up his tactics by resorting to guerrilla warfare on September 14, 1899. the guerrilla tactics became effective as the revolutionaries initiated successful raids and ambushes that made America's campaign more difficult, causing American losses in Pulang Lupa, Mabitak, and Makahambus Hill. The defeats led the United States to focus on building internment camps for housing the civilian population away from the chaos, and burning all villages and crops in order for the rebels to starve them into surrender. But due to this scorched earth strategy, most of the innocent Filipino civilians died from dysentery and were treated and put into segregation. For instance, they tortured the men through water cure, so that US troops can gather the rebels' whereabouts and execute to those who tried to escape the camps. It is estimated that 2,000 Filipinos died in the camps, showing the characteristic view of America's imperialist ideals and their ambitions as a colonial world power. With the sweeping victory of McKinley over Bryan in the 1900 election on November 6, and replacing Elwet Otis for Arthur MacArthur as governor of the Philippines on the 20th of December, where he imposed martial law and promised to send the Philippine revolutionary leaders to Guam, it is clear that with the lack of weaponry, supplies, resources from the scorched fire, and the strings of losses from US troops, it's pretty evident that Emilio Aguinaldo's chances on winning against America are uncertain. But all of these losses come ahead on Aguinaldo. General Frederick Funson, who captured Filipino units called the Macabebe Scouts, surrendered their Philippine nationalism and sided with the Americans. Funson set up a plan with the scouts to capture Aguinaldo, since the revolutionary leaders' base is located in Palanan, Isabela. The plan is for Funson's men to disguise as prisoners, while the scouts will dress up as Filipino soldiers to get in. On March 23, 1901, once the operation started, they got into the base, successfully incapacitated the guards, and captured Aguinaldo, who was taken back to Manila. By April 1st, inside the Malacañang Palace, Aguinaldo addresses his formal surrender by swearing his loyalty to the United States government, telling his army to end the fight. Despite the capture of the President of the Philippine Republic, the army didn't comply with the surrender and continued to fight for independence, appointing General Miguel Milvar to lead the remaining soldiers against Imperial America. In 1901, the war effort began to decline and most of the Filipino insurgents surrendered to the US. On April 16, 1902, after 3 years of fighting, General Milvar and 300 of his men finally surrendered. The Philippine American War left the archipelago devastated. It was debated by historians the amount of casualties caused, but the general assumption is estimated around 200,000 to 1 million Filipinos died, majority of them civilians. Most of the deaths contributed to famine and disease. Unfortunately, the deaths are allocated to the mass genocide of American troops on the civilian population. Even though American troops committed atrocities to the Filipino people, they still help our country to develop as a nation, which their influence still lingers to our society today. Despite the war ended in 1902, the conflict continued, but this time shifted to the Morongs. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like it, be sure to like, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos of me. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch, link is in the description, and I hope that you guys are fine and good and in your best healthy ways. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, bye.